Most people misunderstand power. They think power is dominance, control over others, being louder, more aggressive, more feared. But real power often looks quiet. It looks like restraint. Because a person who can control himself is far more dangerous than a person trying to control everyone else. Self-control is not weakness, it is concealed power. And that is rare. Because most people are ruled by impulse, ruled by emotion, by distraction, by anger, by desire, by comfort. They react immediately. Someone insults them, they explode. Life pressures them, they panic. Temptation appears, they fold. Mood changes, their discipline disappears. And a person ruled by impulses is easy to control, easy to predict, easy to break. But the person with self-control is different. He does not react to every provocation. He chooses responses, and that makes him dangerous. Because calm people are difficult to manipulate. Think about that. If nobody can provoke you emotionally, what power do they have over you? Very little. That is why emotional control is a form of silent dominance. The person who remains composed while others lose themselves often has the real power in the room, and most people never realize it. Self-control is not only saying no to temptation, it is mastery over internal chaos, over ego, over fear, over impulse, over the parts of you that try to sabotage you. And if you can govern that, you become difficult to defeat, because most battles are lost internally before they are lost externally. Strong people understand this. That is why they train discipline when nobody is watching. Because self-control is built in small moments. When you stay silent when ego wants to argue. When you keep working when comfort asks you to stop. When you hold standards even when desire pulls elsewhere. Those moments seem small, but they forge dangerous people. Because every act of restraint builds authority over yourself, and authority over self becomes power. There is another reason self-control is dangerous. It makes you hard to distract. And in a world built on distraction, that is rare power. Most people lose their lives one impulse at a time. Notification, entertainment, approval, pleasure, noise. And without realizing it, their attention gets stolen. But self-controlled people protect attention. They do not feed every urge. They direct energy. And directed energy creates force. Scattered people remain weak. Focused people become formidable. That is why disciplined people often seem intimidating, not because they speak loudly, but because they move deliberately. And intention has weight. Self-control also makes you dangerous because it weakens fear. Most people are controlled by discomfort. They avoid hard conversations, hard decisions, hard discipline. But self-control teaches you to act despite discomfort. And once pain no longer controls you, many things lose power over you. That changes a person. Because freedom begins when impulse stops ruling you. And freedom is dangerous, especially to anything that benefits from your weakness. There is something else. People often confuse aggression with strength. But uncontrolled aggression is often insecurity. Real strength is measured by restraint. Anyone can react. Few can remain centered. Anyone can chase revenge. Few can walk away. Anyone can follow emotion. Few can command it. And those few operate differently. They become difficult to provoke, difficult to tempt, difficult to deceive. That is dangerous, because controlled people are predictable. Self-controlled people are not. There is a reason warriors, philosophers, and disciplined minds throughout history valued self-mastery above conquest. Because conquering others means little if you cannot conquer yourself. And many people can dominate rooms while being slaves to their own impulses. That is not power. That is illusion. Self-control is what turns discipline into identity, and identity into force. Eventually, it is no longer something you practice. It becomes who you are. And when discipline becomes identity, you become relentless. Quietly relentless. That is dangerous, Because unstoppable people rarely look dramatic. They look consistent. Cold in chaos, calm under pressure, focused when others drift. And over time, that compounds. People think dangerous people are those willing to destroy. Sometimes the truly dangerous people are those impossible to corrupt, impossible to distract, impossible to break. Because they govern themselves, and self-governed people carry unusual strength. But maybe the deepest reason self-control makes you dangerous is because it makes you independent. You stop being ruled by cravings, approval, emotion, external pressure. And the person who needs little can rarely be controlled. That is power. Silent power. Most people chase power outward. Self-controlled people build it inward. And inward power lasts longer because it cannot be taken easily. This is why self-control separates the rare. It turns reaction into choice, weakness into discipline, impulse into command, chaos into order, and ordinary people into formidable ones. Understand, the goal is not to become cold or emotionless or detached from life. The goal is mastery. To feel emotion without being ruled by it, to face desire without obeying it, to meet pressure without collapsing. That is self-control. And that is dangerous, because a person who has mastered his mind, his impulses, his discipline, becomes hard to stop. And hard to stop is a dangerous thing. Maybe that is why the strongest people often appear the calmest, because they do not need to perform power. They possess it, quietly. And perhaps real danger has never been loud aggression, but silent self-mastery. Because the person who controls himself can build himself, defend himself, transform himself, and outlast people driven only by emotion. That is rare. That is power. And maybe the most dangerous person in the room is not the loudest one, not the most feared one, not the most dominant one, but the one who has mastered himself. Because once a person conquers himself, very little outside him can conquer him. And that is dangerous.